Hello and welcome to Evolve. I am your host today, Joe, and today we're going to talk about content creation, and it's something that I am extremely excited to talk to you and share with you a little bit about, because that's basically my entire life these days, is just creating content for various social media platforms and clients all over the world. So I'm going to dive into it today. This is a part one, and there will be multiple parts to follow because we got so much to cover. So today we're going to talk about jumping behind the camera, behind the gear, setting up, and getting out into the field. But before all of that, how do you get clients? How do you get paid? How do you jump out into the unknown field of working directly with a client, charging money, setting it all up in a contract, getting insured for it, all of that good stuff? We're going to start there today on Evolve. Cool. So let's get going. I'm going to turn on this fancy music to sort of give us a beat. I like it. All right. So my very first client. Wow. It's a throwback. It was a Mexican dental company somewhere in Mexico City. How did I find them? Freelancer.com. And the gig paid about $500. And I remember they sent me stock footage that was terrible. And the stock footage, they wanted me to add these like pulsing red areas on the physical, on the body of the individual. It was a dental company that was expanding into some sort of physical therapy. It was kind of a strange set, but hey, they paid me $500. The way that it worked was they put $500 in escrow, which is a online payment platform essentially, where you would, as a client, put that $500 in escrow, and I don't get it as the agency or the freelancer until after we've both agreed that we got what we want. So escrow just sort of holds it as a middleman so that nobody gets screwed over. So the idea of being a freelancer and working for a client can be a little intimidating. I'm not going to lie. When I was first starting out, you got to be confident in yourself. You got to be confident in your ability to handle whatever they throw at you, not just the initial project that everybody agreed on, but revisions. And there will be revisions. Trust me, I'm the king of revisions. And actually, I'm going to talk a little bit today about why revisions aren't bad. Let's just jump right in. Revisions are, well, I mean, at the bare, you strip everything else away. Bottom line, revisions are, you made something, you sent it to a client, and they were like, oh, that's awesome, let's do it in orange, even though the brief said blue. Okay, so then you take it back and you jump back into your software and you change everything to orange, and you send it to them, and they're like, oh, that's really great, love it, much, much better. Let's actually change the font. I'm really a big fan of Comic Sans. No, I'm not, and you're never allowed to use that. And so then they change the font, and so that's a revision round 2, and then round 3 and round 4. If your revisions are counted as part of the project, the general project, let's say they paid you $1,200 to do this little video for them, and it was all inclusive, revision rounds included, or maybe you didn't think about even suggesting that there were going to be revision rounds. Let me tell you, it will bite you in the butt, which is why holistic budgets are great to work with if they're a lot of money. So for instance, a holistic project that I just recently did was in the $2,000 range. It was a 30-second promo spot, and I knew that they were going to have between 3 and 10 revision rounds. And for me, it was fine. Like within those 10 rounds, it would have been less than my hourly or day rate. So I was fine with doing up to 10 revision rounds, which specifies in the contract. The contract we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, revision rounds, very important. Man, I'm getting super freelance technical here, which might be helpful. Maybe you've never even thought about freelancing your services. But hey, if you're an artist trying to make some money, that is a great way to do it, to become a freelance shooter at a wedding, a second shooter or a third shooter even, maybe freelancing for some local restaurants in photography or videography or design or web development. Whatever you are, freelancing is a great way to start. And in fact, when I was in college, I was one of the only people in my senior class who was excited to go freelance. Because everybody else was looking for that full-time agency gig, 40 hours, which really is like 60 or 70 hours a week as a salary at an agency. And man, I wasn't about that life. I was like, man, I want to get paid hourly. I want to dip my toe into different segments of the industry. So I went freelance, and just turns out that my first freelance gig out of college was the Today Show at NBC. So holla, it was a pretty great gig, and everything from that just sort of came to me. It was easy. And that might happen to you too. You get a big client, maybe you get to work with, I'm just thinking New England brands, LL Bean, or you get to work with Dunkin' Donuts or something crazy like that. You get those big brands on your resume one time, everything else will come to you like money, baby. It'll just be so easy. People will gravitate towards you because you worked with them, and so you must be qualified to work with us. That's how the logic is. It's funny, I was actually talking about this with one of our Revolution Youth team members, Cameron Bushy, on his podcast, What's Your Reel? And we were just chatting about what it's like to sort of set your own prices and to be booking these gigs. And one of the things I explained was, at my college, they taught me to shoot for the stars. Go for brands like Starbucks, go for brands like NBC, the big guys, because when you get a big guy, everything else comes to you, which was definitely true in my case, and I think it would be as well for any of you guys. So you look at the local coffee shop, they might be willing to pay you $200 to make a solid video for them, but you're worth more than $200, or maybe you don't know that, and I'm telling you, you're worth more than $200 if you've done more than 20 gigs, okay, in video. So video, they come to you, they're like, $200, we want this video, this video, this video. That's not really a good deal. I would never do anything for less than, now it's different, but even beginning, $200 for a video project is really low end. So, but if you had done previously a video for a bigger brand, maybe a bigger coffee shop than them, maybe you did something for LL Beam, for instance. You did a little video project interviewing the employees. It was like a company party that they were going to do at the end of the year. I'm making all this up, but all of that stuff exists. You did something for free for LL Bean, or for next to nothing to LL Bean, but you got their brand on your resume, and now you can say to this client who's asking you to do all these video projects for $200, you're like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. My minimum's $800, so $800. I'm going to do these videos for you, and we're going to make them phenomenal. And if you can't work with that, you know what? No worries. I totally get it. Tough times right now. Shoot me a message, or I'll reach back out to you. That's actually a better one. I'll reach back out to you in a few months and see if it's a better budget. If you've been able to save up a little bit for this project, but $800 is my minimum, and I promise I'm going to make it worth your while. So that's sort of the language that I would use in talking to clients. You never want to insult them and say, oh, the budget's too low. You just want to give them another chance to come up with a better one. If they were the first ones to give you a number and the number was just way too low, you don't want to insult them and say, listen, that's not gonna fly. That's ridiculous. You want to say, yeah, I totally get it. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do it for that price right now. But in a few months, maybe you'd be able to come up with an extra few $100, and we can meet in the middle. I can lower my budget a little bit, like $100 if it would help. Negotiating is a little bit, but you got to know what you're worth. As a freelancer, as a content creator, you got to know what you're worth. And that's going to change, and that's going to evolve over time And I promise I'm worth way more now than I was when I was 18 and 22 and 25. Man, I'm aging myself now. I'm almost 30 years old. But hey, with age, baby, I get worth more and more and more. And now, I won a couple of Emmys this past year. My prices went way up because then I can put that on my resume and it says Emmy award-winning designer Joe Lord, and my prices just went up $75 more an hour if I'm doing an hourly gig. Just saying, it works. When you get great clients, CBS, NBC, Starbucks, or whatever, you get those guys on your resume, your prices go way up. Okay? And the opportunities just come to you. Now, opportunities coming to you it's not always a real thing. What I mean by that is it's like a magnet, right? So you have a magnet and another magnet, and your clients are this one and you're this one. I wish I actually had real magnets. My AirPods have magnets in them. Clients, you. No, that's ridiculous. We're going to pretend that didn't happen. Clients, you. Over here, clients, right? So your clients are looking for a video guy, and it's really exciting stuff. They're looking to hire out some freelancer to come in and shoot a promo video for their social media channels. They're going to make it look super good. They want to promote their new espresso lineup. They want to showcase all of the sit-down areas, the fireplace, the band that comes in on Saturday nights, whatever. They want to showcase all of that over here. They have about $300 video budget, right? Freelancer, you over here, is like looking for those kinds of gigs because you need to build up a little bit of I don't know, like a portfolio. You got to start somewhere, and so you're willing to take your very first gigs, a couple $100, even $50, volunteer work, whatever you got to do. You got to start building that portfolio, and then up until you got a portfolio that looks really good, you got some really great clients under you. Like until that point, you got to take the lower end dollars. And then after you've gotten some really awesome stuff to show, to tell them all about, to sort of brag about, you show those logos of places like LL Bean that you worked with. Even if you only did one project with them or something little, put it on your resume and say, like, we did it. And own that project. I did like a couple of things early on in my career. I did with Disney, and the Marvel team came into Today's Show, and we branded like all of the interview monitors we branded in the Marvel graphics, and we did the intro and the outro. I was all about saying that I worked with Disney and Marvel. I mean, if you can say that, like I said, those bigger brands give you license and sort of give you credibility, to be sure. For smaller brands and not just brands, but clients that want you to come and work for them long term, or if you're looking for full-time employment or to build your own agency, whatever you're looking for, having those brands are really going to make all the difference. So any opportunity you get to work with a name brand that is super recognizable, go for it, and don't worry about the cost. Same goes for celebrity or somebody of higher caliber, people who are super recognizable, a brand that's super recognizable. Those are like trophies sitting on your shelf, opportunities waiting to happen, baby. So freelancing is not a bad start for a content creator. I think as a content creator, I had so many times working with clients that freelancing really set me up for. I'll give you some examples. Let's get into the nitty gritty. We'll talk contracts for a minute. Contracts are something that as a freelancer, I had to learn to really look over, because oftentimes I would get an opportunity and it would come along with an NDA, and an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. And basically it's just the client telling you, sign here on the dotted line. You're not allowed to talk about this for X amount of months or years, and possibly never. And some of the NDAs don't even allow you to put that work in your reel or on your portfolio. You might get credit in the on the website or whatever, but you can't use it on your own website because of the NDA. You really got to look over the non-disclosure agreements because it really screws you over, and you don't want to spend a ton of time working on a project for a client unless you're going to be able to showcase that on your own website, on your own reel or your portfolio. It just doesn't make sense unless the money is extraordinary. They would have to pay me for a non-disclosure agreement where I wouldn't have credit, basically. So I would be giving them that commercial license rate, which is 5 times higher than a rate that I could give them where I could use it on my reel, on my portfolio, etc. We're getting super technical here. But contracts with as a content creator, when I work with hotels are a really interesting one because when I want to go someplace in the world, I love to hit up local hotels. Some smaller brands, sometimes medium brands. I've even worked with some really larger brands and some higher end stuff, and they're really fun to do. The reason I love doing hotels is because it is super easy to do, and it's very sometimes high-end work. So I'll give you an example. One hotel I've worked with is the Dillon in Dublin. It's a 5-star boutique hotel, and they actually have a chain. And so I was communicating with one of the vice president of communications or something like that for their entire brand. And essentially I just wrote the hotel and said, I'm a content creator. I'd love to create some really awesome media for your hotel. I noticed that on social media you're lacking for I use better words than that, but you're really struggling with your social media, and I'd love to come in and stay at the Dillon and create some really awesome content for you guys in exchange of staying the week for free with my dad while we were traveling through Ireland. They loved the idea. They brought us in and treated us like royalty, gave us free meals and free room care service, whatever it is, when they bring you up the food in your room. Super fancy spot. I loved it. And I was just taking photos like I would any other day, but I was a little extra mindful of shooting the details because they had given me a list of things that they would really love to have photos of, and part of that included the room service, the breakfast bar, things like the tub, like the knobs in the tub, and little details like that. And so I got creative with it and made some cool content for them. And it was one of my first hotels that I'd ever done, but we got to stay there for free, and it was a lot of fun. And then after that gig, hotels were easy to get because there's a 5-star hotel in Dublin brought me in, and I was good enough for them. Then the Holiday Inn Express in Paris, or the equivalent of it in France, it was called the. Oh man, what was it called? I forgot what it was called. The Tim Hotel, which is probably on par with like the Holiday Inn or something like that. My work was good enough for the Dillon 5-star hotel in Dublin. Totally way overkill for doing the Tim Hotel in Paris. So we got to stay in Paris for a week for free. And I say for free, I didn't pay to stay. In exchange of my services as a content creator, I created photos for their brand, and they can use those with an unrestricted license online on their website, and promotional material on social media, etc., etc. So it's not for free. I know my worth, and I was actually giving them a better deal than I would have had to pay out of my pocket for a hotel room. But I thought it was a win-win. Free place to stay in exchange of free media from me, which would bring their brand to the next level on social media. So content creation can be a lot of fun, and it all comes down to the way that you communicate with the client. Paperwork is extraordinarily important because it gets everybody on the same page. It gets in writing that you're going to stay there for free in exchange of these services that will be done by this time frame. And it gets everybody on the same page, makes it an extraordinarily comfortable situation where you walk in, you don't feel like you're stealing because you're staying there for free, and it makes it official. So for instance, with a content creator, the paperwork is important. On the other side, as an agency or a freelancer, paperwork is even more important, like 10 times more important, because then you're working with $10,000 gigs sometimes, where you have multiple people coming into a multi-million-dollar building, and you're in charge of the videography. And so if somebody trips over a tripod, you got to have insurance that covers that up to a $4 million policy, like crazy little things like that. As the person in charge of all of those logistics, it can be really overwhelming when all you really want to do is just pop open a camera and start shooting some cool stuff. So, however, when you start looking at the paperwork and you get organized and you really are on top of it and you're careful with it, it makes it that much better for the client, because then they can say, then they know that you're reliable, that you're trustworthy, that you're providing the paperwork, you're providing the contract, sign here on the dotted line. So a couple of different types of contracts, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but feel free to email me, joe@revyouth.com, REV youth.com, Joe, just J-O. And ask if you'd like a sample of some of my past contracts. I'd be happy to share that with you, because this is what this community is me sharing tips and tricks with you guys and techniques and ways that you can benefit as an artist up and coming, where I can just sort of hand you a cheat sheet and say, like, well, this took me years to learn, but there you go. You can learn it in 5 minutes. Don't have to pay $200,000 for a college education for that. And I'm happy to do that for you guys. And me and all the other Evolve coaches, similar kinds of things. Super cool. 2 types of contracts we're going to talk about very, very briefly. First is a statement of works, an SOW. I didn't even know about this until a couple of years ago when I had gotten booked for a project that was $10,000 or $15,000 in there, in a high-end company in Silicon Valley. It was way out of my league. The owner was a billionaire. We had lunch together, and he drove me in his Lamborghini. Kind of cool. I actually wrote that part into the contract. No, I didn't. The SOW got us all on the same page, whereas a statement of work, it's like an informal contract. It sort of specifies, this is what I'm expecting as the client, what they are expecting me to put out. So that was a series of episodes with this interview of this billionaire guy who runs a company. We're going to talk about his story. Interview style, we're going to give out 10 episodes. It's going to be a short series. They're going to get that by November 15th, whatever it was. And it's going to look high end. It's going to look polished. We're going to shoot on these cameras. We got pretty specific in our SOW. You don't always have to, but if you Google SOW templates for videographers or photographers, whatever you are, SOWs can be very, very helpful because it takes out all of the guesswork. You never want your clients to think, well, I think he's coming with 2 cameras. And if they don't call you and ask that question, or if you show up with 1 camera and they're like, oh my gosh, I really thought we were going to have multiple angles in this, they're disappointed and you haven't even started working yet. I've had that happen before. I showed up with an iPhone when the guy thought I had a DSLR. That was way, way back. I was doing some free work then, and he was disappointed because I didn't have a DSLR. And I'm like, man, I'm going to make some magic on this iPhone, but I am so sorry to let you down. That should have been talked about ahead of time. That's what SOWs are for. Get them, baby, all day long. I'm all about it. And contracts, the second type of paperwork, this is legalese. This is something that you download on the internet and you pay your uncle who's a part-time lawyer online, and you pay him $50 and say, make this work for me. And then when you start getting bigger gigs, hire an actual lawyer to do the work. And I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not giving legal advice on this program, so don't sue me. But contracts are super important. I can't tell you how important. Actually, I can. I can tell you exactly how important they are. 2 months ago, before Corona happened, the coronavirus, for those of you who are watching this later on, that's sort of coming to an end, hopefully right now. We're in June. midway through June 2020 right now, in the middle of the greatest modern day epidemic of all time, modern history. So anyway, I had been booked by this client for 5 video gigs in New York City. And they were spread over the course of 5 months. And I required a payment up ahead of time. I offered them a payment plan, but there were 2 options. Payment plan, pay in full up front. Contract said that if you don't end up needing my video services, you're not getting a refund. And that was one of many lines in the contract, but to save you from absolute boredom, that's all you need to know. In the contract, it said that one line, and that one line saved me from having to refund them when coronavirus happened. And we didn't end up doing the video gigs. We did like 1 in January, and that was it. And they lost out on 4 other video gigs that they paid for. And unfortunately, that's just, I mean, the coronavirus happened and lots of people lost a lot of money, but I wasn't one of them, because the contract stated that even if there's an act of God and everything's canceled, you won't get refunded. And that's not me being a jerk. That's just business, baby. That's the way it works. So they were out $10,000. And, the next time they go to hire me, and they go to sign that contract, I'm going to offer them a 20% off coupon because I feel bad, but that's not even required, legally speaking. Like, that was business. Things happen. Coronavirus hit everybody, and unfortunately it hit them, not me. Unfortunately for them, but I'm really glad I covered my butt with that contract. I also sent them that SOW that outlined everything in layman's terms, which was actually readable. It wasn't super legalese, 11 pages of, thus saith the client and all of that stuff. Like, man, I can't even read that stuff. But because I had it, saved my butt. Contracts are important. I think we're going to wrap with that pretty soon. Let me think. Content creation. We talked about freelancing being a really great way to step into it. We talked about contracts being super important. Paperwork, insurance, saves our butt. What else can I talk about in this first content creator episode? I'm going to just briefly say tools don't matter nearly as much as you think. You can make some really cool stuff and get paid for it without having super high-end stuff. You just got to know how to use it. So if you have an iPhone and you're a photographer or a videographer and you can't afford a DSLR yet or a video camera, that's okay. You can still make money using your iPhone. I've done it, and I started out as a content creator with just an iPhone. We traveled to multiple countries. All I had was my iPhone, and I took some really cool photos and videos with it. Now, it wasn't super high end, but that's okay. I got free hotels out of it. I got free VIP experiences, like boat tours and, downtown bus tours and international bus tours, free train rides, discounted stays if I didn't get the whole hotel for free, all kinds of different things, all with an iPhone. And I was upfront about it. I'm a content creator. I shoot on an iPhone, whatever it was back then. And I was honest with it, but I showed them my results. I also showed them all the best photos. I put together a press release for myself and for my Instagram profile and for my YouTube channel, and put all my best iPhone shots in that and layered them like a gallery. And it looked great because I learned how to shoot using the tool that I had, and I got the results that I was looking for. And it wasn't until much, much later that I started to get bigger paid gigs and starting to run into issues using my iPhone that I needed to upgrade. It just made sense. I wanted to shoot at night. iPhones, not so much. Maybe the new one can shoot at night a little bit better, but the old one's like not even close. So all that to say, your tools that you have right now that you're currently equipped with are more than enough for you to get started in the freelance/content creator world, where you can get going and start building a following, getting some clients, building your portfolio, getting all that working underneath, just sort of piled on. Like, You got that wedding that you did, which is really cool. You got that small town coffee shop that you did, really cool stuff. Start lining up your website with that stuff. Start putting that all up on your Instagram and whatever. And the better work you get, you start to delete the lower caliber work. The better you get as an artist, you start to realize, man, that was really not that great. Delete, delete, delete. Because you don't want your clients, potential clients, to get on that site and see all of your mediocre work. You only want them to see the high-end best that you have to offer, if you can deliver that every time. So those are some really, really good tips. Man, this episode was packed with little gold nuggets here and there. I would almost encourage you to go back and listen to it again, because I'm all over the place. I'm like, this is really important, and this is really important, and this is really important. I think I had too much caffeine today. But everything I said today, I stand by it as a successful, and successful just meaning I get paid for it and have done this full time for years. Successful artist, creative content designer, videographer, photographer, creator, whatever you want to call me. And I've done it for years. I've gotten paid a lot of money for it. And I love what I do. And most of all, most importantly, my clients love what I can put out and what I can create for them. And I can encourage you today and tell you that you will get there as well. One day at a time, putting the hours in, putting all the hard work in, and just not giving up. Using the tools that you have, not waiting for the next big thing that you can't afford, not trying to, manipulate people, but being honest with people, tell them what you can do, what you can deliver every single time, and charge more every single time as you get better. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching Evolve Live, and we will see you